Hello, one and all, to the very first episode of the Server Nights. Here we plan to talk about general topics like anime, comics, and games, and a whole lot more. To begin, I'd like to introduce my dad and brother, who will be the main talkers throughout. Dad, if you could.
Thank you.
Just very serious, and then just like the fucking golf clap.
Well, and I also called you by your first name. So.
Oh fuck! You know what? I don't care at this point. Let's just go. I'm done. Let's just.
Okay.
There's no reason to care.
Edit that later. Thank you, Gate Man.
Whatever.
I see, and I had the T in there, Gate Man, so I said it right. I'm Rebel Knight. I'm the dad of this group, and usually the one who's probably going to be trying to rein the boys in, or I'm probably going to be one of the worst. I don't know. But here's my son, Saint Weeb.
Hello, I am Saint Weeb. I do Saint Weeb things, like Saint Weeb. I like anime and video games, and I can't tend to rein it in most times. So prepare for chaos.
Actually, it'll probably be Gate Man that's going to be reining us in most of the time.
My wife.
Yeah.
Alexis.
My wife. You like the apple.
Well, let's kind of get into this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What we want to try and just correct me if there's anything I say that's out of place, but we want to kind of go into in this first episode as to what our favorite things are, and what we think is fun and exciting, and what we think is going to be cool and exciting that's coming up, or just fun in general kind of stuff that we do. And we are a family of fandom. We do like everything. I am a big fan of comics and movies and gaming, whereas with Saint and Gateman, it's going to be more of anime plus gaming and probably movies, right, guys?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like anime. Sorry.
Well,
at this point, I'm just.
When I was talking about maybe doing anime at the end, but maybe we should start with anime because that's really kind of a big thing for you guys. You guys do a weekly anime thing where you guys sit down and watch an anime and then discuss.
Yeah.
And you guys have introduced me to quite a bit. Quite a bit. Now, I used to watch the anime way back in the 80s and 90s, which was like my favorite ones were Akira and Ghost in the Machine. Akira is really good. And I used to actually sell the animation art as well through Warner Brothers, and I really kind of got into anime back then. But I also used to watch the really old animes, which is the original Voltron, Robotech, those kinds of movies. There was War of the Worlds, which was amazing. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one, but
yes, I remember they did a radio thing way back when for the book, and it caused like a whole panic thing. So.
Yeah, they were the bird people. They were bird superhero kind of. They were kind of like what was it? They were in space. They were like, but they didn't have superpowers, but they had suits and stuff, and they had helmets that were shaped like parakeets and stuff. It was weird.
I'm probably thinking of something different. Yeah, I think we got the wrong idea.
1 second.
I thought we were talking about War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking War of the Worlds from like the old radio show and stuff.
Yeah.
No, this is This was an anime. This is one of the original animes that was really popular here in the U.S. when I was a kid. So it was really kind of interesting. But recently, it's been. Let's see. You guys got me to watch One Punch Man, which is amazing.
Yeah, the fight scenes in that were fairly they were really good. Yeah. Probably some of the top-notch effects.
And that's one of the things that I really liked. I liked the fight scenes. I really liked all the fight scenes. When he would do that single punch and then everything around him was exploding away and left a giant hole in a valley. And then he'd turn around and just kind of trot away like, let's go have lunch. It was really kind of amazing. But that's what I liked. And now Jesse was telling me about this before, is that there's between like the Japanese and the Chinese. With the Japanese, it's a little bit different than how the Chinese do their anime. And the Chinese anime was, the fight scenes were amazing. I thought they were amazing. Real clean.
the very big difference between Japanese and Chinese animation would have to be that Chinese animation focus on fast pace, like cutting scenes to make it quicker, make it feel really fast paced, and something that you can still kind of keep up with, but like at the same time make it so you're like, oh shit, this is going on. Whereas Japanese animation is based on effects. They like to have their effects have like lights and like dust like spreading out, and just the general like use of effects, colors. They make it bright and vibrant so people pay attention to it. I think that's a really cool thing that they keep separate from each other, but they tend to sometimes mix with each other just to get a little bit more. More specifically, things like the studio Mappa, as of late, the people who did Chainsaw Man, they tend to.
That's a good one.
Effects of Japanese animation while keeping the fast-paced fighting of Chinese animation. I thought that was really cool.
At first, with Chainsaw Man, I thought that there was it was almost too fast-paced, like they were moving the story along so fast. But I actually kind of liked it that way. I found that it moves the story along faster, and the action in that was amazing. I almost kind of wish there was more of the Chainsaw Man in Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. They kind of spread it out a bit so that they can get a bit of all characters in. That way you kind of get the gist of the world. And I think with Season 2, whenever they come out with Season 2, they're going to lean more into the past of Chainsaw Man. You know, where was the Chainsaw Devil before Denji was there? Or even more into Makima, you know, the lady with the red hair. Because she's super powerful. So it's like, you know, there's got to be some story there. Everybody's afraid of her for some reason.
And they kind of explained that one girl, Power. Was that her name?
Oh yeah, Power, the Power Devil.
Yeah. She had kind of an interesting story too. I thought that was kind of cool. And I read somewhere that they may be even doing something separate with her. Ooh. Or maybe doing an episode based on her. So I thought that was really cool. But what was the other one you guys had me watch not too long ago here? Is it Demon Hunter?
Oh, Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer. That's what it was. Yeah. I think you had me watch that one. That was, we got Mom to watch that too, and it was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Input?
Input? 1 second.
Miss input, calm down! You calm the fuck down!
What can I say about it? It was a good one. I watched it for a bit. At some point, I just dropped out of it, though. I remember I did get that into it because I like to show you guys animes that have less fan service that we can all watch together, you know?
Yeah.
And be less awkward and stuff like that. But with stuff like Demon Slayer, I'd say it's actually really cool. Yeah.
Well, that one had a lot of story to it.
Yeah,
like it had a lot of build up into it. Like it had like this whole story in Demon Slayer where, you know, he's with his family and then he has to go this long ways to go to town to supply everybody in town so that he can bring back money, and then his whole family gets attacked. I mean, this whole background story, and then it's taking his sister with him and all these people he meets along the way, and it kept a fairly fast pace for how deep the story actually really goes, which is where he was doing all that training. They did that in like one episode. So I mean, they kept a good pace on it. There was just a lot of story in there.
Yeah, it was a lot for some people to keep up with, so it made it kind of hard for people to get really into it at the beginning. But the way it led on later on with how the fights, when they came into the lower and the upper tier demons, the way they did it was just like, it was really well done, because they have like a season per like upper rank, if not lower rank, and it's really cool the way they do it. They have like 2, maybe 3 separate fights going on, and they keep switching in between each story, and they build it all into one thing. And I think they put it together really well.
Yeah, that, and they also they had the antagonist, who is like this smart demon, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was was Tsuchi. Yeah. Yeah, pretty
Yes.
much Michael Jackson. Yeah.
He did. He looked like him, right? That's weird. But I think that's the Western influence on what they do.
Yeah.
But I really actually I enjoyed that they had a protagonist where they had to. He knew who he had to go after to get his sister free of the demon, and to bring her, to keep her alive. So I loved that that's where the story was going, and he even met some demons along the way that were actually good people, and they are good demons, I guess, and they were willing to help him out.
Yeah. Okay, so there was something cool that I kind of like really enjoyed about Demon Slayer that like not many people really talk about. The fact that it's not necessarily in like the Edo period, no, you know, way back samurais and like lords and whatnot. No, it's like a little bit more modern, but still further back. The not so talked about like era of just like merchandise selling and like just surviving in general. So they have obviously things like trains, which are more steam powered, but they're not so far back that they're, you know, committing suicide because they dropped a penny on the floor in front of a lord, you know? I thought I thought the time period was very different from a lot of different animes, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Is there any other animes that you might want to bring up while we're on the topic of it?
well, what was that one that you had us watching? Jujutsu?
Oh, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen. And they did that one on Fortnite. And which I found was really interesting because I was like, who are these guys? What is this?
Oh my
I don't
gosh,
understand any of it.
Jujutsu Kaisen from Fortnite. Oh my gosh.
I love Jujutsu
Well, no,
Kaisen.
I understood that they were an anime.
Yoko.
Not a complete moron. But it's one of those things where I had never seen it and I never watched it. And when we did watch it, we got through, I think, 7 episodes. And it was actually really cool.
Oh yeah.
But I watched it after they had put it on Fortnite already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it was so big because it was one of the, I might be just a bit ignorant about some stuff, but I feel like it was one of those animes
Really?
that got Mappa on the map, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
just
100%.
like, what? Damn it.
Sorry.
Damn it, why?
No, I agree though.
But because it
Mappa
go ahead.
Mappa was really put up by Jujutsu Kaisen because it was such a big new series, and the fighting style was like Chinese animation, per usual with Mappa style, but they also used the effects of Japanese style, which kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier. But it worked really well, and it's gotten them so on the map that they work with like Attack on Titan now. They work with My Hero Academia, or they will be, and they will be working on One Punch Man as well for their next season. So
wow.
that's something really interesting to look out for.
Well, and what was the other one? Because now Fortnite going back to My Hero Academia, which is another one. Sorry, Saint Wave had introduced me to was My Hero Academia, and again I got into that one, watched all of what they had, and I'm waiting for the next season, which I think is actually out, but it's not dubbed; it's subtitled.
Yeah, that's right. I forget
So-
you watch dub sometimes.
Yeah, I watched the dubbed, so I got used to the voices, and now the last season they just did it subtitled, so it's weird for me because I I want to be able to hear the same voices, but they're different voices, the original ones.
The same thing happened with me with Sword Art Online, and I know you guys, some people might not have a good opinion on that, but I feel like I really like Sword Art Online, but eventually at some point it switched from dub to sub, and I'm just gonna be stubborn about it and not watch it until I can get the dub on somewhere.
That's what I'm hoping for on My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm really
so
hoping.
just gotta
it
be
can
a
sub-
stubborn old man in this.
So personally, my switch over to sub was.
You call me a stubborn old man?
I'm calling
Yes,
myself a stubborn old man as well.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine.
My switch over was around when I was in high school. I was watching Naruto, and I got to the very big part in Shippuden, where it's a whole like war arc, right? And at the time, they had run out of episodes to watch in dub, and I was so distraught because they were going to be coming out with Boruto around that time, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch that. You know, it's his son. And I was like, oh, sweet. But they ran out of dubbed, and I was like, oh, fuck. So I was like, all right, I have two options here. I can either wait for it to come out in dub years later, or I can just watch through sub and get acclaimed to the voice and just get used to it. So I chose and opted out for quicker episodes because I wanted to catch up, and I watched pretty much all of it through subbed at that point. And I started watching through sub, and then after that I was like, I don't want this thing to happen again. So I just kept watching everything in sub. So now I'm more of a subtitle user.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I wouldn't mind if maybe they had the same voice during the subtitles as well as the dubbed in, because for me it's one character was like, but then when they switch the subtitles, you're like, I'm like, wow, what happened to him? His voice is completely different.
Like,
But almost,
there's a really good example of this where this has happened. Goku. Goku's voice is like very, very high pitched in Japanese anime, and when it was dubbed over, he actually got a voice actor that was a little more toned to his character, where he's, you know, a little more, it's got more depth into the voice. But like I can't watch Dragon Ball Z for that exact reason, I feel like, because like
okay, because I was going to ask you guys don't watch the Dragon Ball Z series.
I remember watching like through most of Dragon Ball, but at some point it was just so many episodes.
I couldn't get it.
I mean, stuff like.
But see now,
yeah, go ahead.
what I was going to say is that I know you guys don't watch the Dragon Ball Z, but I saw this guy actually on Instagram. I sent you a video of these guys they call themselves nerd rappers, and one of them was rapping about Dragon Ball Z and the characters, and he was rapping about how what was it called, a Borum, I think is what he said was his, like, the girl that he likes is Borum, and he was rapping about that and he was so into it, and I felt like, okay, that's how my boys are about other animes, but these guys were so obsessed with it. They had it all over their walls. They had statues. They had shirts, hats, you name it, and it was all about Dragon Ball Z characters. And they aren't the only ones. I've seen a lot of people are really into Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. And I feel like that might be like something that maybe we missed the ship on. We weren't part of it when it first came out, or when it became popular, I guess is what I'm saying.
I had a friend that I used to watch it with, just a little bit, and it really didn't fit my style personally. I don't know. It was something about the way they did it that just was not my thing. But okay, the reason why people have so much merch of it though is because they probably have like the biggest line of merchandise over here in the US when it comes to anime. So like obviously they were some of the first to get into Fortnite. They over even at our current Walmart, the main thing that you see that's anime is going to be Dragon Ball. Like there's mostly Dragon Ball stuff.
When you think about like Dragon Ball merchandise, I always think of the off-brand stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the little action figures,
just like fucking Gonku or some shit like that.
Gonku.
Well, Gonku
and vagina.
Well, that's the thing, is that they were kind of like one of the first big animes, right?
Yeah. Oh,
they were the first in the US. And then because they were the ones that kind of like hit it big with everybody. They even got a live action movie of Dragon Ball Z, which I had actually watched, and I got an understanding of what the story was behind it. But the guy they chose was not like a big guy. Like you see Goku, and he's like this kind of big, muscular guy with the big hair, but they actually chose a guy who was kind of small. He really wasn't that big. Yeah. So to me, it wasn't done very well because they really didn't pick characters that matched the cartoon characters.
Live action stuff sucks.
Yeah. Well, okay. Actually, there is one that I've heard as of late has been really good, mainly because the.
Sorry.
Yes, Five Nights at Freddy's, my favorite anime.
Sorry.
I love when Freddy Fazbear punched Goku into oblivion. That was so awesome. no, but One Piece. One Piece got a live action adaptation as of late. And I heard it was actually really good. I never got a chance to watch it, but I did hear it was really good.
Mainly people are going nuts for this. I keep seeing it popping up on all my feeds, and it's like everybody's really getting into this One Piece thing on Netflix.
Yeah,
and I go out there and I see it, and I'm thinking, well, I never really watched it. The boys don't really watch it. I don't think I'd be interested in it, but
trying to get
maybe I should.
I've watched like 500 episodes of it actually, but I watched pretty far.
Is that all?
There's like 1,000. There's 1,000 episodes in One Piece.
Yeah,
but
dude, I'm like
truthfully, actually, I feel like it's. Shut up. I feel like it's more like full than the others, because I feel like Dragon Ball and Naruto, I feel like they have a bit more. They feel like they have more filler than anything else. But for One Piece, for me at least, it feels like there's less filler.
What do you mean by filler?
I mean like filler episodes. Sorry.
Okay, so
like episodes that are just used for like filling up space, I guess.
Yeah. Okay,
so of the 500, there's like 5 episodes that actually mean anything.
At least.
Yeah. Okay. So hold up. Imagine there's like a series, right? Let's say Naruto, and the story is, I've got to become this great ninja. If you have a filler episode, it's more about his life in general, not so much about fighting, but like just about like how he spends his off days, and how they get into other stories.
In my mind, I'm just picturing. So in this episode, he'll be going grocery shopping.
I mean, basically, sometimes,
In this episode, Naruto takes a giant shit and wipes his ass.
Actually, there was an there was an episode where he had to take a shit.
There was?
Oh my lord.
Okay, let me explain more
is.
Let me explain more into this. He has a jutsu where, actually, most of them have jutsus where they can transmortify themselves into somebody else. So he was pretending to be Sasuke to try to get with Sakura. And because he had something like really bad ramen or something, and he had to go take a shit super bad. So he ran out to the bathroom.
I don't want to watch that one anymore.
And Sakura was just so confused because like Sasuke and Sakura were just talking, and Sakura thought she was like hitting on Sasuke, getting it, but nope, it was Naruto, and he ran to take a shit.
That's literally the whole episode, and it was just so weird. It's just why.
Holy shit! The fact that I remember that though, that was such an old episode too.
Well, but you spent years watching all of that, all of the Naruto stuff, all of it.
And then, okay, so I watched all the way through Naruto Shippuden, but I half watched Boruto. I tried to like outlast it, watch as much as possible, but like at some point it just became filler. It was no longer a show; it was just filler, and it was infuriating. It was hard to watch because like
they actually do that in regular TV too. They do these ones where it's just they try and fill it with a little bit of comedy or a little bit of drama, but it's really just about them going grocery shopping and shit.
Yeah. It's sucky because like they take this like beautiful show that everybody really enjoys, there's a huge fandom for, and the reason why people like it gets taken out, and what's the point of that? Like you have people who like it for this reason, and then you get rid of that reason and they don't like it and they're like, where did all our people go? Like, well, you took out the reason, put it back, or get gone. It's hard to watch.
Get back to the story.
Yeah, the more you water down the great story that it was originally, the more people will leave. So that's just how it goes.
Well, and if you run out, you get writers that are there and they're dedicated to the story and they're pushing it along. And this is kind of the stuff you don't see, of course, in the shows. You get certain people that don't appreciate their writers or their production managers or whatever, and people start to bail out. And so that might have been what happened too. And then the writers that come in aren't very good at what they do for a living. It's like that writers' strike that's going on right now for the actors and writers, which of course we support. Those people are just fighting to try and get their cut of the stakes. There's all these wealthy people who yes, they invest into it, but they're getting their money back and then some. And that then some part is huge, and they should kick that back a little bit. Help these folks out. They got a living to make too. I have a friend who works for the studios. She actually worked for The Runaways. It was based on a Marvel comic book. She worked on that show. She still was working on that show. She did most of the series with them, but she's on strike right now because she works as one of the production people on set. She also did a couple of other shows, but she's on strike, and I support them because they should get paid what they deserve to get paid for all the work that they do. If the studio heads are making millions, they could kick out $1 million and it wouldn't hurt them at all. Yeah. Just my thoughts. All right, so let me ask you this, because I'm curious about this, and I never really asked you boys this, but if you could make a live action anime, one that they are going to throw a ton of money at, and they're going to make it really, really good, what is the one anime you would want? And we'll start with Saint.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I have problems with live action because they don't usually turn out good. Hearing how One Piece did, though, it's a little more reassuring. But
it looks good. They had that giant water dragon, and it looked good in the trailer.
I think if I was to choose something, it would probably have to be My Hero Academia, because I've seen how Marvel does their stuff, and superheroes just work. So
now, I understand, as the resident comic book nerd here, I will tell you that they did not stick to the exact storylines. There's a lot of it that... Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the Marvel stuff was amazing. That whole 10 years was fantastic. But they did not stick 100% to what I would say is the better part of the comic books. And with that said, I feel like anime people really, really, really need them to stick. You really need to stick to, what's the word I'm looking for? The canon. You have to stay canon 100%. If you're going to do an anime, you have to be 100% canon. But let's just say they're going to. Maybe they're going to do that. Yeah. Would Hero Academia still be the one you want to see?
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. No. I'll hold on. Give me 1 sec. This is a very tough question. Okay, so my belief is that there are things that they should try to adapt. Like, obviously, Marvel has a lot that they didn't follow canon with. But it still turned out fairly good for, 10 years, I think he said?
Yeah.
So
it was. They started out with the Iron Mans. And they built their way up, and they went through all of them, and then they had the end game. And now they're still doing more Marvel ones, which they're even going to do another Avengers movie. So, but they're actually going to be introducing the X-Men soon, which is why there's this big debate right now as to who's going to be Wolverine. And I always found this really amazing. Daniel Radcliffe is up for Wolverine.
I heard about that. And
but there's
I can't see it.
Have you seen the picture where he was in this? He was in this show, a cable show, and he's shirtless, but he's ripped. Man, the guy's cut. Like, he really worked out, and it looks. He used
wizard magic to do it.
He could do it. I could see it. I wanted Tom Hardy, but now Tom Hardy's getting a little older. Yeah. But I could definitely see Daniel Radcliffe in the running for that. But I don't know. There's a lot going on.
The only problem I would have with that is he's British.
He does an American accent amazing.
He was also Harry Potter, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was joking about.
He could pull off the American. Well, actually, he's Canadian, so he can do whatever accent he stinking wants to. Because there are French Canadians, British Canadians. He could be British Canadian. Why not? Just because Hugh Jackman didn't use his Australian accent doesn't mean that we couldn't have an English accent.
He should have used it.
All right, we're getting off topic though. Gateman. All right,
So,
Damon, your choice.
so real quick, I just looked through a list of my animes because I was freaking out what I was gonna say, and I found one that I found an idea. What if?
Option Saint didn't have.
Yeah. Thank you, my brother. Okay, so I was thinking maybe Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer could be a live action because that would be actually really
Goblin
cool.
Slayer.
I can totally see that.
Have you never watched Goblin Slayer, Dad?
I have not.
Oh,
Okay.
we're gonna need to watch that at some point.
I won't go
Okay.
into too much of the storyline for it, but I will say that like it is one of the darker series. Like, imagine. Okay, well, obviously I should put out maybe like a trigger warning. Like, it shows things like
Bad
Rape.
stuff. It's bad stuff. Bad stuff. Yes. It
Yeah,
shows some
it's
bad
bad.
stuff.
Oh, it's called Gobbling Slayer. So I mean,
Goblin Slayer. Sorry.
It's like,
sorry, I couldn't help myself. Go ahead.
yeah, it's very brutal. There's a lot of stuff that some people shouldn't see in there, but like the storyline is like it's kind of cool. Honestly, it's some cool
When
shit.
I don't mind a little brutality. I mean, if you ever go back and actually watch Akira again, that's brutal. There's guys' heads that explode and
Yeah.
blood splattered everywhere, and there's meat and stuff flown all over the place. That was almost too much for me back in the day. But now, like you watch Chainsaw Man, for instance, they're hacking people up with chainsaws. It's brutal.
intestines and shit, you know,
Yeah.
like ripping through, getting stabbed tons of times, you know.
And a good part of that series, that first season, was him wanting to see boobs. Come on.
Okay.
Nothing is going to shock me at this point.
So
I actually heard somebody's take on it that it's not so much about like the Chainsaw Man, you know. It's Denji coming to terms with life and
Yeah.
how he can fully enjoy and understand how life is, and I thought that was a very interesting way to look at it.
Well, so for me, a lot of what comes out of Japan, and probably China too, is that like embarrassment can be a very big thing for them. Like there are guys that are really into embarrassment. There was actually a series about a guy who would wear women's underwear on his face as a superhero. And no joke. And he did it because it embarrassed him. And when he got embarrassed, he would become super strong and he could fly, and it was all this weird stuff. And when wearing women's underwear on his face embarrassed him. So he could be a superhero.
I think I saw an anime about that, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that was the whole plot of it.
I almost felt like it was hentai, but this is actual. There's an actual movie where it's a
Yeah.
live action person running around with the guy's got a panty on his face.
There
It is-
is actually an anime kind of similar to that. It's about how Japan cuts out all porn, no porn magazines, no videos, no hentai, nothing. You get
That's the one.
nothing.
That's one.
And it's these two people who do have all this stuff, and they're trying to bring it back to the world. And it's such a weird concept.
Yeah.
It's so odd, but it's
Yeah.
like.
But see, that's
would
the
that
thing
be
is that
good?
with all that being said, is when I look at Chainsaw Man and the fact that he wanted to see boobs is like a big thing. That's, to me, that's part of their culture, is trying to draw in certain cultural aspects of what people might want to see. So if they think that they might get to see these anime boobies in an anime that has lots of action, there might be a crowd in that culture that might want to watch that. I mean, ultimately they wouldn't have to. If there was none of that storyline in there, I would still watch it. I thought it was really interesting. I thought the animation was amazing. And you know me, the animation has to be good for me to want to watch it.
Yeah.
Because that JoJo one that you watch, I cannot stand it. The animation changes so much. It is terrible. I cannot do it.
It's
Yeah. Okay, I kind of get it.
Actually-
Okay, the reason why JoJo's so popular though is it's more for the storyline because
Yeah.
there's like a lot of power sets and like
even
the way
the
they go
storyline's
into
weird,
it.
but it's still really good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of those
I
things.
can't
you
get
have to-
past it. I'm watching something. If it was a radio show and I could hear the action, that'd be great. But the animations, some of it's just poor. It's awful. And I
Even
thought, maybe there's a couple of episodes where it does it. No, it's every episode. It changes. It's like they have like 6 different animators, and they're all doing their own thing, and it changes throughout the whole episode. And I'm like, this is driving me crazy. Do you remember watching Batman animated series.
Yes.
Okay, so that was back when I used to work for Warner Brothers, and I had some of the animators explain it to me. Is that because I said some of these episodes, it seems like the animation isn't nearly as good as some of the other ones, but the story is really good. But it would drive me crazy. Like one of my favorite episodes is The Laughing Fish. Some of the animation is so bad, and what they said was that there are groups that do certain parts of the film because otherwise they'd never be able to get the whole thing out, and it's only a half-hour show, 15 to 20 minutes with commercials. Yeah. So they would have this whole thing where they had groups that had to do parts of it to get it to move faster along, which is why if you go back and watch them now, the animation will change halfway through.
Yeah.
Because they had a different group finish up finish it up, and they weren't. Maybe the animators are different. They do a different kind of animation than the first group did. It drove me crazy. I could see the change in the animation halfway through, and it would drive me crazy. If it doesn't match all the way through, it drives me nuts. And that's that artist eye. You know what I'm talking about, Tucker, because you're the same as me.
Yeah, it does do that at the beginning of JoJo, but that's because it was a much older series and it got readapted, but it was still fairly older. So it did do that near the beginning of JoJo, but later on it does go past that. And it does get better. That being said, there is maybe an episode or two in season 3 I just was not a fan of. It had this comic book type kid who had a stand.
Oh, that one was kind of weird, yeah.
I hated the animation for that part. It just was not my favorite. But yeah. I loved season 3 itself.
I think they were called like fucking Oingo Boingo or something like that.
Yeah, it was Oingo Boingo. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, that's the same with Ruby.
Ruby?
Oh, Ruby.
Ruby, wow, that animation was it bothers me when it's that's really good 3D animation, but it was poor compared to the 3D animation that they have nowadays.
Speaking of which, I actually did watch the Ruby and DC collab movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
It takes on Ruby's animation. So if you like Ruby, you're gonna love it. But
I thought Ruby was a really interesting anime.
The animation gets better later on, and the story actually does get like really good later on. I actually caught up on it because of the movie, because I watched it not too long ago.
Oh,
it was really good.
I definitely want to catch up on that. That's on Max, and so I've been kind of wanting to get in there and check that out because it did look good. But I saw some of the clips of it with Ruby and like I guess Superman and Batman. They're fighting people. From the Ruby world, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really well done, I'd have to say.
Okay.
So, I'd definitely check that out.
Hey, so, not to be a stickler for changing subjects or anything like that, but I feel like we've been talking about anime for like half an hour or so.
Oh, no, actually, we're coming up on an hour here.
Oh, great. Okay.
I think, which is fine. This episode is dedicated to the anime.
Oh, great. Yay.
And that's okay by me. Because there is quite a bit. There's actually, we're just touching on some of the topics, but you had brought up an anime that I really, really enjoyed. Introduced it to me and Mom a long time ago, was that Sword Art Online.
That one.
Yeah, okay.
Amazing.
There is a group of people who do not like that anime, specifically because I kind of relate to it when I say it's not the greatest, and the reason for that being is it focuses too much on the villains being, well, kind of like molester type rapists. It's very odd that they pushed for that to be the only kind of villain to show up. Aside from the first big villain, he was really like he wanted just a world to himself, and I think that was kind of like, and he wanted people to enjoy it, and that's.
It was
the way they made it, in particular, was just he was a perfect villain because he wasn't necessarily a villain, and he was relatable in a way, and I thought that was very interesting. But later on, they just made the
for me, it was with that anime, it was really about how technology now is moving forward and the immersion into worlds, and we're getting there now. Where we're getting to these things where it's a full immersion into a world where you wear a suit and you can feel everything, like Ready Player One. We're getting to that point where it's going to reaching that, and what is going to happen if something like that does happen, somebody takes over the world and locks everybody in. I mean, that's definitely something that could happen if technology continues forward like it is. And it's also with that whole AI thing with their, which is again why the actors and writers are all protesting right now, is they don't want AI to take over. And I really want to do a whole episode on the AI thing too, because I think it's amazing and a little scary. But
I think there's a lot to go in on that, because I also agree. I think it's more of one of those things where it's just part of our technology and we have to accept it and move with it instead of hating on it. Because as much as it is very bad for some people who are in the creative type job set where they have to, be creative to make money, I think it's very important to remember technology is evolving consistently. And if you want to figure out how to use it, you should be with it. And I don't know. Okay, so there's chat AIs that can help with this kind of thing, where you ask them for creative ideas and they give you ideas back. And it's like, you can use that for your art. Or you can go in a different route and create an AI that makes a program. And it can make a programmed video game for you, or it can make a movie, AI is just this very powerful entity that people are so afraid of that they're not trying to figure out. And
yeah, but that's the thing, is that if we have complete control of it, and I don't want to go into this completely, because again, I would like us to devote an episode to the whole AI thing. But for me, it's that scary part where they had two AI programs talking to each other, and then all of a sudden they created their own language, and then they started talking to each other about destroying the world and taking over. They had to shut it all down, pull the plug on it.
Yeah.
Because it was that smart. And it was working that fast that, that's frightening, because if something like that had gotten loose, who knows, maybe it did. But if something like that had gotten loose into, say, the internet, who knows what could happen? They could shut down everything.
Yeah, it's kind of the difference between conscious and unconscious AI, but we'll get into that a different time.
Yeah.
We should probably start to wrap it up here, because we are reaching an hour.
It is. We're getting at the end of this, but I wanted to say that I want to continue the discussion on anime, but at some point I also want to talk about the new Aquaman 2 movie that's coming out soon. Looks really cool, and I'm a big DC fan, so I want to really kind of get into that. But I figure maybe we'll do more like the discussions like this, but based on movies. The AI, I like that as a topic. I think that could really get interesting. But I think we can do a lot more discussions like this. Just a little bit more into fandom and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess that'll be wrapping it up then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
sounds good.
Yeah, definitely so. We don't really have any things to plug at the end, I guess, so that'll be it. Wait.
Yep. Should we all do like one of those things where it's like, thank you for watching, subscribe, like, whatever,
Nah, fuck.
Oh,
yeah. Nah, I don't.
Definitely
like
subscribe. Definitely like. Definitely do all of that stuff and more.
Definitely like whatever is here. Yes. Goodbye. Let's just.
Oh, we should also mention that we may be actually doing some gaming while we discuss things later on.
Yes.
I'd still like to do that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. If we do add it to like the YouTube videos or something like that, then yeah, we'll be doing that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But
that sounds
other
like
than
fun.
that, I guess we'll just fade off then. Okay. Goodbye then.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Naga.